Always. Shouldn't bring my hat. I don't know, let's just get, are we all gonna fit in here?
I don't know.
We'll find out.
I'm just so impressed that you have these. Good job.
That was good. I think she, I think she made that note.
Yeah, I don't think we have.
3 years ago, they didn't give me that.
Oh, okay.
You're hard work.
I didn't,
Oh, how is it?
installed.
Good, good. You're upright and able to get places. It's exciting. So many of my friends are gonna either be or this. Amazing.
I think I can show you, I think.
It's not gonna get jealous.
Yeah, I think it's glad.
No, it's the one.
It's on the way to find it. So, yeah.
Very fun.
Upwards.
Magazines get their own. Got your email.
Oh, I want. I have to, you know, I do keep this.
Who are we waiting for that we know is finishing? Are we waiting for anyone that we know for sure? Okay.
We're actually still waiting for, oh. Laura's actually on. And there's, okay, so we've got quorum now. So,
Hey, sorry everybody. I couldn't be there today. I'm kind of feeling a little bit under the weather and ran into some technology problems. So I'm actually joining from my my mobile device.
Thank you for saying.
let's see. Okay, so we are now live to YouTube. So we will go ahead and get ready for the Cultural Tourism Promotion Advisory Board meeting for March 8th, 2023. The time is now 6 o'clock and 26 seconds as time goes by. Oh,
Perfect. And Chris, would you be able to share your screen? Since I'm on my mobile device, I'm unable to.
yes, I can share my screen. Did you want me to use your presentation?
Yeah, if you could.
If
You
I
don't-
can find it.
Oh, well, then just go straight to the agenda. Let's just do it that way.
All right, I'll just go straight to the. We'll go ahead and start with the roll call. Felipe Gonzalez,
Here.
Laura Tesler,
President.
Galen McAllister,
Here.
Ryan Gale. Here. Omar Alvarado.
Here.
Scott Snyder. Present. Carly Wright.
Here.
Jeff Tiffany. Here. Roger Williams. Here. Everybody's in attendance. We got 9.
All right. So our first order of business is to approve today's agenda and last meeting's minutes. I'm gonna pull it up here. I motion to approve the agenda and the minutes. Can I get a second?
Second.
I actually have a question on the minute. Was Jim Boo present as a guest, or was it? I don't know.
Who seconded the motion? I'm sorry.
Jeff Tiffany.
Thank you.
Or was it Derek Gilbert?
We have an adjustment to the minutes. Jim Boo was not present. Jim Boo wasn't present.
It was Derek Gilbert.
Derek Gilbert?
Yeah.
Are we able to approve those minutes as they are, or do we need to make the change and then approve them in the next meeting?
Approve with the change for adding Derek Gilbert, and removing Jim Fu. The motion.
Perfect. Okay, so should we just go ahead and approve today's agenda?
I move that we approve them with the amended, with the correction.
Second.
So Galen moved for the change with the amendment, and seconded by Laura Tesler.
Perfect.
All
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion passes. All right, next item is the typical calendar, which Chris has that, is it in this agenda packet?
I think I actually forgot to put that in there.
The one time, right? We don't have
one
my
time.
presentation. So, but it is in past agenda packets.
Yes.
So you can see that calendar here, but we're right on schedule. The next thing on the agenda here is public testimony. So if there's anyone there would like to address the board on any matter other than what's on tonight's agenda, just go ahead and raise your hand.
I don't think you're sharing your screen. There we go.
All right, hearing none and seeing none. Looks like next up is going to be our action items.
All right.
So Chris, take it away. Thanks.
Our first action item really tonight is going over the scores. In the agenda packet, you've actually got a list of all the scores that took place. And I've got the nice color one up here. So basically with the scores were provided from all 8 of the active board members that were doing the application reviews. And what you see is the average score of all 8 of those individuals, minus if there's anybody that had a conflict of interest, their score was not counted in the average. And that's basically how the
Okay.
numbers stood out. 605. So
Oh, this doesn't work here.
this is the 605. We're done.
That works in my office. Sorry, we have motion sensors and people that
They really are serious about saving energy for them. That's
Or leaving on time.
actually. Oh, wait, nice combination.
Okay, and then we're gonna. Okay, sorry, we're having technical difficulties. There we go.
There we go.
Good job.
All right. So a passing score needed to have 18.75 or higher out of the maximum 25 points available. So that's actually 75% of the score. 18.75 equates to 75% score for passing. And the first set is the facility operators. Looks like nobody scored below 22.1. So all pretty high scores. And then the dollar amount is back in November, there was a meeting that the board facility operators requested that all the applications be scored or be funded equally. So there's the equal funding. And then right next to it is what historically would be based on their scores, a hierarchy of the allocation. Then the next largest section is the events and projects. Again, there's only 2 events that did not get a 18.75 or higher, and that was the B-17 Alliance and the Kaiser Salem Youth Basketball Tournament. All other applications scored above the 18.75. And I think the next lowest besides the 17.9s, was a 19.6, 19.5, 19.5. So all fairly high scoring. And then the capital improvement projects or grants, there were 3. And the lowest scoring was the Kaiser Salem Youth Basketball Association shot clocks at 15.3. So as a review, we had 47 applications this year, which is the most that we've had. I think prior to that was 44. Only 3 of those weren't passing. So we're passing 44 of the 47, which equates to 93.62 passing rate. Any questions at this point?
Thank you for compiling that all. Sorry, my scores were late.
Yeah,
I wasn't going to name any names.
yeah,
Keeping it anonymous.
email issues, yeah.
Yeah, so I have a quick clarification question. So in terms of the facility operator scores, are we doing it based on the actual score or are we just doing it evenly?
So the funding is going to be even.
Okay, so
That was the board had made the decision
okay, I just want to clarify.
back in November.
Thanks.
And the field facilities operators generously all agreed to that, even though some knew.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I wasn't sure that, yeah,
Correct.
And then it says invited out.
if that was for this time or the next time we did it, so.
But we still are evaluating them individually because if they don't get a passing score,
Okay.
they don't get funded.
Yeah, I get you, so.
Yeah, so we still do our work.
Yeah.
For them.
I just
to
want to
qualify.
clarify which one we're using.
It has to be competitive.
Yeah.
So,
And then Chris, I mean, I was wondering, and you probably did do this, but, there was comments that I think some people, I usually put comments.
yes,
And I think those were forwarded a lot to people.
correct.
Okay, good. And I'm just hoping that, people probably took the time to make comments on people's applications. And I'm hoping that everybody got those comments and looked at them. I hope if there was any questions, people would, get back to us if they had comments about
So
this.
I have not sent out the comments that I received.
Oh, you didn't yet?
I haven't
Okay.
sent them out. So typically what I'll do is I will ask at this meeting if anybody wants to receive comments based on the scores. If they have questions about their scores and want to see any comments, just email me separately. And then I will go through all 8 of the spreadsheets that and provide any comments that were provided and share those to you. So.
I had made a couple of comments and again, the Zoom meetings were not very effective for me. I'm really glad to be back in person. But I had made several of the applications when I was going through and doing my evaluations where I felt just because we have a $10,000 limit doesn't mean that all these organizations with their first time events or relatively myopic catchments really need $10,000. And so I made several where I thought 5,000 would be more than enough, very generous support from the city to still run a quality event and earn a bigger dollar amount as their event grows, not start out with that. And I mean, they're not going to get reimbursed if they don't spend it, but that is keeping money away from other organizations that, or from the facility operators that could be using that money more consistently with our charter.
Okay, maybe we're going to talk about that next in the budget section. Can you explain again how we decide what the amount is for facilities and what the amount is for events?
So that's the next section after I was going to have you make a motion to adopt the scores. And then I would go over the funding side of things, how the breakout is, or how the breakout works.
Okay, I move to adopt the top scores as presented.
I second that.
Felipe? All right, second. Is there a discussion? Bad one, but. No, call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Passes. So now the scores are official and adopted as they stand. So basically we take this information from the applications requested, the dollar amounts that received passing scores, and we tally those up on this next page. Try and build it up a little bit. So council policy provides a percentage allocation to each of the types of grants. Per council policy, which is mimicked right here, facility operation grants are to receive a minimum of 60% of the funding allocation for each year, a maximum of 10%, and a minimum of 25% for special events. Maximum of 10% for the capital improvements, and then minimum of 25%. So based on the all the applications and the funding requests associated with those, and the amount of funding that was made available for all these grants was $715,520. And so we fully fund all of the events, the 62,350, which comes out to be 36% of the total of the 715,000. There was only 2 passing capital improvement grants for $10,000 each. There's a 20,000. The remaining percentage or dollar amounts gets mainly got eaten up by all the special events that were asking for the $10,000 new amount, since this was the first year of going back from 7,500 to the new $10,000 level. Those funding that ate up basically the additional funding. And then the amount that the facility operators get to share is this $433,170, which puts them over the minimum 60% category. So all of that, these dollar amounts fall within 100% funding and falls within this council policy.
And so before the scoring, the city manager decides on the total amount, like it's an increase this year over last year.
It is an increase over last year. And a lot of that has to do with how much was being requested in the applications. So we do a forecast every year, and we identify how much we think we're going to get in revenue. And then based off of that, there's certain percentages, that are allocations or contractual agreements that we have to fulfill with TOT monies. And then the rest of it filters down based on the needs of the city for whether it's regular operations, whether it's landscaping and stuff like that. And then there's this percentage that's allocated for the capital for all the grants. This so happens to be the equivalent of about 15% of the overall total of the TOT budget, which you'll see on the next page. So that amount gets spread based on this policy and the number of passing grants. So, and then you had the question about, are we funding the facility operators equally? So we take that 433,170 and divide it by the 9 operators.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if we were doing that this time or putting out the next cycle, so thanks for clarifying.
The request was for doing it this cycle, since we have the board makes the decision on what to fund.
Gotcha,
and how
thanks
much.
for clarifying, so.
So on the budget, I think in previous years, under city programs, we've actually seen the line items on that and administration. Do we not get the line items anymore?
So in the city budget, we no longer do line item details in the city budget. And per council policy, those areas are determined by the city or under the purview of the city. And then the actual line items are the only line items that you have available to you to review are the actual grants.
Is that because we asked questions about it last year?
Well,
I find that a coincidence.
Yeah,
it is coincidental. It's totally coincidental. And this corresponds to with the monthly reporting that you receive as well on the expenditure side of things. You just see what's been spent for each one of the categories. So it's keeping in harmony with what has been in the past as far as reporting.
So what falls under administration? Is that basically, okay, so that's you.
So administration is everything that goes into all the financial side of things. So you have your accounting, you have
Correct.
your finance department, you have
Right.
any type of hiring for staff that's
Right.
related to TOT staff.
Right.
You've got all the grant administrators,
Right.
Contract administrators, whether that's for the travel sailing contract or for the convention center contract or for sports tourism.
So if you had to estimate, like, I mean, so when money comes in, you know, to our department, it's a 30% cut administration. I mean, that's the approved rate. Right now is 30%. So is that your rate? Your admin rate is,
I
That's a lot
have never
lower
done the percentage
oh, it's
based on that.
48 at OSU.
Yeah, so
So,
364 out of an $8.6 million budget is actually not too
It's
bad.
not
We've
bad.
seen much worse.
yeah,
And can we request to see the line items? Or
Right.
is that, or does no one see the line items? Even the city councilors, when they approve the budget, they don't know what's in those categories?
They don't,
that's kind of
Someone put
strange.
their yuck in there. And they're tricked to the palm.
Right.
they don't see that. It's been that way for actually for a number of years now.
Interesting.
Yeah, they just see, they'll see the department and they'll see maybe the program and then they'll see the dollar amount. They don't get to see any other line items within that. They'll get to see line items when it comes to capital improvement projects. But again, those are just the project title and then the dollar amount. It's not, you know, all the staffing and all the other things that go into that project.
Is the staffing for the the amphitheater still in there?
Yes,
Yes.
there's still staffing for amphitheater. There's still staffing for all the public works, park maintenance. Those are all under the purview
We didn't get
of the city.
The city has that,
I
but they
know.
don't see it under there. So they should, right?
Nobody listen.
So we projected that the revenues are going to be about 4.77 million for next year. That's the what our projection is.
So can I ask a question just before we blaze away past that? So how long are we gonna be stuck paying for the amphitheater? Forever? Yep. I told you.
Probably. I can't
Scott,
say.
I told you. I told you. And so here we are. This is
Sure.
gonna be our line budget item forever and ever and ever. We're gonna be stuck paying for the amphitheater. So, I mean, this is the albatross. And it's very, very, very expensive. $1 million a year paying for the amphitheater. That's a very expensive proposition.
The only piece that's in it is in the TOT is just the staff.
And I'd like to see budget breakdown of that. I'm curious about that.
Sorry.
Is there a way we can have the city like reconsider, like at a specific point in time, or just make our intent known that we'd like to
Oh,
reconsider?
I thought we asked, I'm looking through the minutes, because I thought during the presentation, they said they were gonna look at it each year.
So, yep, city staff will look at it, the funding and the amounts on that. So Jennifer Keller, who is the manager over that area, will be reviewing that. New developments is that I'm no longer going to be with community development department. I'm going to be moving into the new community services section,
Oh.
which will then also be over top of the that area as well.
Still gonna be our,
Yes, I'm still, that's why I got moved, because this is seen as a community service
Sure.
program. So that's why I'm moving with community services.
That's a lot of $10,000 loans.
And then with the PIP money or whatever from the COVID, is there any plan on what to do with that in the beginning balance?
So right now that is in the 5-year forecast, that's floating us across in case of any reduction, recession. So it's keeping us afloat.
Okay, all right, very good.
And you see the individual lines for all the grants for the events. So you can see, the difference between, $7,500 an application versus $10,000 an application. Now, granted, we had, a lot more applications this year, and we were able to fund 93% of them, almost 94% of them. So that's actually pretty good in that aspect of it. So.
Yeah, that's a pretty, it's like $120,000.
And it does, show $5 million as the expenditure side of things. So it is with revenues for the TOT being 4.77 and expenditures being slightly above that. It is dwindling down that revenue balance.
Are we having, to your knowledge, any in this 2 million for city programs, isn't it? But just any capital projects that the city's doing as far as like lighting at Wallace Marine, or any big projects that we've had Mark come and present on before?
There is 2 big capital improvement projects, $150,000 in public works. I'm forgetting off the top of my head what it's related to. It's a capital improvement, and then $65,000 for city-owned historic building.
Okay.
House. Any other questions?
I would like to consider for next year, and I don't know when we should propose this, but $10,000 is really not enough for a capital improvement these days. You can barely get, like a contractor to come. So
Yeah.
I think it would make sense to look at increasing those amounts, especially as our non-city owned buildings get older and older and need more expensive things. And I would suggest increasing it by quite a lot as a way to entice matching, so that they can go out for grants that require a match. It'll leverage that money even more.
So currently they require a match, a 50% match on capital improvement projects. So that means a $10,000 grant would mean they have to have a $20,000 expense.
Right.
But yeah, you're probably right that some of these capital improvement projects would be significantly more than
It's not even
$20,000.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that is something that falls underneath the purview of the board. You could increase the dollar amount for those capital improvement grants. If there's no other questions, there's a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second. Motion to approve the budget by Scott and seconded by Roger. Call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Nay. Hearing none, motion passes. Next up on the report is the status as the end of February. So here's the TOT collections and expenses year to date. So through February is going to be January data. 30 days to report from the hotels and motels. So we got 2.66 million. And last year, same time frame was 2.5. So about $158,000 above where we were last year, same time frame, or 6.34%. So we're still doing well. And then the expenses for each one of the categories are listed here.
Are any hotels in arrears right now? Did you know?
Not that I know of.
Okay, I donated blood last week and it looked like the Shiloh Inn is under a big renovation. I know our Phoenix Inn is closed,
Yeah.
but they closed 1st of December, so. But,
Yeah, I haven't heard of any.
okay.
And so far we spent 2.8 million, almost 2.9 million. And last year, same time frame was 2.2 million, a 30% increase. Majority of that, percentage wise, it's admin, but dollar wise, it's going to be parks and capital improvement. Actually, 61% is actually the grants. Of course, that was the year in which we had COVID big time, and we're just coming out of it this year, so makes sense. And then on a monthly basis, seeing how the taxes are coming in. So January was 252,499, which was 14% below where we were the previous time frame. And then in February, we're 34.4% higher. If all of the collections come in the exact same amount as last year, we'd only be 3.65% higher than last year. But year over year, we're actually experiencing about a 6.3% increase. So we keep an eye on that as we get closer and closer to the year end.
And so with hotels, some hotels close for renovations, that sort of takes.
It takes away some of the room nights that are available.
But the compression does increase rates
Okay.
because other hotels are getting close to being full and
Yeah.
because they're not many beds to spread it around to, and so
When is the new hotel?
I was just going to ask that.
mid-April is what they're projecting.
Interesting.
No questions there. The following reports were submitted. They're the facility operator reports from Deepwood and from Santa Multicultural Institute. Any questions, concerns, thoughts?
We should put Galen's ID on the parking lot for the visiting the parking lot or the
Yeah, please.
capital improvement.
You know, in November, we talked about doing a subcommittee to get together in March, or sorry, April. Is that something we should do now, or should we do that at the April meeting?
Yeah, like set a time. Or, you know,
So last thing we did was we had a motion approved to create a subcommittee after the 2023 grant cycle. So I guess it's already done. I think it's just a matter of maybe picking the people that want to be on it. Alicia.
Or doing the application process,
Yeah, exactly.
trying to streamline things.
Did you guys want to have a survey done first for the how things went, or?
From the recipients.
I think that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, once we see the data, we'll have a better sense of what to do.
I mean, you have the scores, obviously, that was one set of data.
We did one before, right?
We've done it in the past, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's use the same one and that way we'll know. We'll see how things are going.
How do you guys feel?
I thought that
Is it-
the ones I
In
read,
general,
the ones I read from people who have been funded before were really well written. Like, that's why I think all the facility operators scored so strong. They're well written. I've seen it like a significant improvement, especially in addressing the new things like the diversity part and how are you measuring things. People have gotten really good at that.
Yeah, that was kind of the question that I had, is like looking at these scores, I've seen high 20s. I was like, either we've got some really good application writers, or the scoring rubric is doing its job, or so it's,
Or both.
or both, or a combination of any of those. So yeah, that's kind of the question I had for the board. How did, you guys have read these applications? You know, you got to see all of them and weigh them in. How do you felt the questions being answered were answered? How did it go for you guys?
I think there's some redundant questions on our application.
Yes,
And I don't think we should accept budgets when they do not balance.
correct.
Because
Yeah, that's where people lost, I think. For me, they lost the most points was the budgets.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also just, this is just a thing for filling out the spreadsheet, is that there's a lot of things that, there's questions on the spreadsheet that they're a black or white type of score. You know, it's either it's this score, if it's, I can't remember the exact question. You gotta understand, I probably had about 6
Well, the
budgets and I was trying to do some of these applications.
Yeah, like if your
but-
marketing is 3%.
yeah, maybe I'm not the best one person to ask, but you know, like the budget questions, you know, if it's above 60%, it's this score or whatever. It would be nice if those were just automatically filled out already, because the person can just go through and just say, okay, the budget is this is the score, and it's already on the spreadsheet. That way the reviewer isn't spending their time going and doing that, because it's already predetermined. You know, the budget is either this or that, so that's the score. It's already put on the spreadsheet, you know? That way the reviewer is not wasting their time doing something that's already auto-generated from the budget that's submitted. Do you know what I'm saying? You know, it's already on the
Oh, absolutely, I
spreadsheet.
get you, so.
You know, I don't
Yeah, I
have
mean,
to waste
yeah,
my
It's a
time.
predictive thing. It's like either it is or it isn't.
It's either that
It
way.
doesn't
or it's
require a
not.
person to make a
Right.
decision.
I don't want to waste my time doing that. I'm more interested in reading the application and seeing, does this match up with the rest of the top
Yeah.
things? I don't want to waste my time doing that.
I'd also like to see word count limits.
A limit on the
Well, a limit or an expectation, because some of them were really long and did not say a lot. And others were short. And I think that we need to limit them.
Difficult to regulate.
I think we need to regulate.
Yeah.
them.
And I think I would like to voice my concern again is that between the meetings where we're getting testimony from the applicants and we're grading in private, we don't have this, you know, my concerns that I wrote down that this is too much money for this event is not being reflected. And, you know, again, I don't know if anybody else had the same concerns, but it just, you know, it's not my money, but I want to see it being used. I don't want to squash an event. I just don't want to see something, we're going to buy gold plated plates instead of silver plated
Yeah.
plates. You know, it's like,
Were those
we don't
mostly-
just need to spend, I'm sorry?
Were those mostly like new
Yes,
events? Okay.
yes, yes.
And this is good for the subcommittee to talk about. I wonder if there's an opportunity to put like a $5,000 grant for people who do like a short, quick
Mhm.
application. And then the longer ones that we're going to ask more questions on, is 10,000. So people have that choice.
Correct.
5,000 is enough. Let me just
That
do
was
it
my
quick.
parking lot a while ago.
No, I don't think that's fair. I think there are grants there that people, they could have asked for 10,000 and they only asked for 5.
Mhm.
And I think it's more work on us and them and Chris for us to be saying, to have a third application. People don't have to ask for 10. They can ask for less, but when you put 10,000 in front of them, a lot of them are like, I can ask for 10,000. I know, but that's.
Yeah,
not
some people are reasonable, some are not.
And
Yeah.
it's during
Well,
those,
and maybe that's.
it's during those meetings that you can call out and say, I don't think this really should be funded at 10,000. What's the discussion around the table? Do a lower amount be more advantageous? So that's what those public meetings are for,
Right.
to be able to voice those concerns.
And I think we've taken those meetings more of asking questions. We really haven't done deliberation or kind of like
Mhm.
evaluation conversations, and that might change now. that we've made
Yeah,
some
I think that will improve with in-person
Right.
meetings.
I totally, and I personally am still struggling with the sports grants. And I struggle with that because I look at this, you have to look at the spirit and the letter of what is Salem cultural and tourism promotion about. And this, like, all of a sudden we get all this plethora of sports grants, and I struggle with some of these sports asks. I really do. I don't, some of them don't make sense to me. They're a round peg in a square hole. And I think some other people were struggling with that too, looking at the scores. I
Right.
did
Well,
not feel alone when I looked at these scores.
the ones that didn't make it, the way the scoring works, well, one of them had a pretty significant budget error or budget problem, but the scoring gives points for things being open to the public and accessible. And the ones that were just private tournaments, to me, I did not score as high as Hoopla, which I really see as a community event
Right.
because it is so open and attended by the public. But the public generally does not go to private tournaments held. Certainly the families benefit who are going and they're paying for it and everything.
Correct.
That's how I draw the line, because I do think sports are part of the culture and they do draw people to town and they are an event, but that was the distinguishing line for me on this one.
So that makes a lot of sense. There should be some sort of way to capture that in the application process itself, because right now there really isn't, and it's all kind of, and for me, that there's issues too of like, this wasn't captured in the application itself for like events making significant revenue or events where the actual grant was a pretty small part of the budget. If you should have adjusted scoring criteria based on that. But those are just things to consider.
And I want to say, that's exactly kind of how I went about it. Galen, is the same sort of philosophy, looking at those types of events, because is it kind of open to all, or is it just kind of a certain segment, And so Hoopla is much more of an umbrella, open to all, that kind of thing. That's kind of a no-brainer. But some of these other events, I'm just really struggling, with that. It didn't seem to fit. Yeah. So anyway, yeah.
I think it's also good to be said about the diversity in their sources of funding, whereas some that are like depending on TOT funds and maybe have one other source of funding, whereas others could show that they had multiple different grants that they could apply for, also donations, also like admission costs and that. So that, there's a diversity, and potentially if they didn't get one, they still have a few backups and they're not so dependent on us.
Correct.
And as a hotelier, I don't only look at what produces room nights, but that does weigh in my decision.
Of course.
The organizations, the groups that are bringing TOT for us to dole out are very, very important. And if those are sports events that are generating that TOT, for us to be able to have something to give to the others that keep the whole dynamic in play is very important, that those festivals and sports events are all being treated equally. There can't be a discrimination involved. I mean, I have nothing against the ones that didn't pass. That's perfectly fine. But I just, I don't think we need to have a bias against soccer, baseball, softball, basketball, lacrosse, whatever is going to be bringing families that might stay in hotels is a good thing in my book. And we can't let anything slide through. Travel Salem has got a new sports director, very active sports committee. Jason, you're on that, right?
I'm not on that committee, but he's.
Jason,
Okay.
But they are, college athletic directors, getting things that are hopefully going to be helping enhance Salem's presence on the map. So, Ironman is a perfect example. That is incredible how much that changes our community, and the way that they feel about Salem embracing their event. It's the #1 Ironman in the world. And we're only in getting ready to start our 3rd year. And it's because the community has embraced them so completely that they are at capacity every year. So that's something to be proud of.
Well, beyond that, you have it's a marketing tool.
Mhm.
It brings people to Salem.
Mhm.
And then from there, I mean, I know with Hoopla, we provide a lot of the cultural and tourism information.
Right.
For the packets for everybody that's coming to that event.
Yeah,
And from there, they get to spend their time how they want.
because they're not on the court all the time, right?
But they get to see what other
Yeah, yeah.
touristy things we have to do here.
Yeah.
Whether it's Deepwood or
Mhm.
Riverfront Parks or whatever. So it is a form of marketing that does pay a lot of dividends. So getting back to kind of the idea, we're talking about subcommittee, application review, we're talking about wanting to complete a survey. We've got your guys' feedback on how you guys think it went, which I think is a little bit more important because if you guys think that the scoring is good, and you just need to tweak some of the questions, then that's something you can have a subcommittee take a look at. We need to be able to give the subcommittee direction on what to look at.
Yeah.
So they can be focused on it a little bit more. If you think that, the applications in general are really well and the applications are being written well, what kind of tweaks do you think are really necessary? But if you'd like, I can go ahead and do a survey of the applicants. And
I
see
think
what
a
they thought.
survey would be good, especially since we have so many new ones too, just to see what they probably have a fresh,
They
like
have
they
a
haven't
fresh
seen
view of
before,
it.
right?
Yeah.
I
First
would
time-
that?
first time
I would
experience.
like a survey.
Yep, survey, okay.
That would be helpful. I think.
What would be the timeline for the survey approximately?
I would get that started. I probably would put it in probably in the next 2 weeks or so. I would have a probably 2-week window, maybe 3-week window.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
You really don't need, people are either gonna fill it out or not.
Yeah.
so.
It's only 4 questions.
Right.
Yeah,
So it's
and
pretty,
people who really have something to tell us, they'll tell us.
Right.
And I think the comments that were brought up, by Carly and, the others with concerns about the way the questions are phrased is a great way for the subcommittee to have a pretty quick mini revision of how we grade so that we can help just tighten it up.
if you, Carly, since you are noticing that you want to send an email and specify which questions you're at representing.
I would love to.
Looking at.
You want all my notes on my review of the
Yeah, well,
At least something that I can provide to the subcommittee, unless of course you're going to serve on the subcommittee.
I will totally serve on that subcommittee. I will willingly, gladly serve on that subcommittee because I weirdly enjoy reading grants, but I don't enjoy reading redundant things.
yeah,
And you've got an eye on that. I don't remember who we had on the subcommittee previous. I remember Alicia from Gilbert House was volunteering. Do we have any two other volunteers from the board or from the?
I'll volunteer.
I've volunteered before. Keelan, you volunteered.
Can't be more than 4.
We can't have more than a quorum. We can't have a quorum still. For the subcommittee.
I think newer people should be on before older people
Yeah.
go back.
Me too. Omar, I'm down to be on that.
Okay, so I'll go Omar, Carly and Ryan and Alicia.
Are you just putting her on there or are you gonna ask her?
She volunteered previously.
Yeah. Ask her for,
Is she in the audience today? She might be.
No,
online.
she said she wasn't going to make it today. In fact, I talked to her about the month of April, the next meeting, instead of doing a meeting, doing a tour
Oh, nice.
of Gilbert House and then walking down. I'm looking at Laura. Walking down to the Riverfront Carousel and then the amphitheater.
Nice, and hopefully we'll have perfect spring weather for that.
Hopefully
Exactly.
Positive.
It'll be April.
And Scott will give us a drink afterwards.
There you
go.
So that
Hopefully Bentley's will be open by April, so.
So that would be my recommendation. We wouldn't have a meeting because of the requirements for having a meeting and being broadcast live and that kind of stuff. So that's why a tour with no meeting would be able to be done. But I'll leave that up to you, board members, if that's something you want.
I think that sounds
That'd
fun.
be fun, yeah. We should get out and about more.
Yes.
And then I'll work with the subcommittee once we get the survey results. See how get those aspects done. Sounds good. Any other questions or comments? The next thing on is the update for the events, coming up events. So here we are in March. Today is March 8th, so Kalia Valley, second Friday, raffle coming up at the VFW Hall. Salem Art Association has got a couple events openings going on. And we are still in the middle of the Americans for Arts surveys. Last email that I got, we had 418 out of the 800. And we have basically 2 months left.
Does each facility have ones that they haven't turned in yet, or they turn them in as they go?
I have not received, as far as I know, Kelly might be able to jump in. From the facility operators themselves, we've only been collecting the events that they've held. We haven't received 50 applications for operations generally.
Right.
And so that is a question that we requested for, I think last month we sent out an email and said, hey, we want to have all the facility operators submit at least 50 during this time frame from your normal operations.
And what do they think that's doable?
I haven't heard feedback.
Okay.
So
Maybe they can let us know if that's doable, because that would get us a lot
that would get us a lot
Quite a chunk.
closer. Yeah.
to the 800.
So we are at the beginning of March, but we have April and May. And there are some more events that are coming up.
This event this weekend, collaboration with Salem Art Association, Multicultural, and Elsinore is a big one at the.
Yvonne says she has 40 to send.
Yay,
So that'll help a lot. Yay, Yvonne.
That's 10%.
So Chris, SAA is hosting the encore performance at the Elsinore, and so they're collaborating on that. And Kelly Harms from SAA said she would love a couple additional volunteers to help with that event on March 11th.
So Saturday, March 11th.
We might have a handful of unturned in surveys, like from the Black Pilgrim, the whatever was it 2-9? But in general, I have everything that's been turned in general. So we need more.
We definitely need more.
So we have 9 facility operators. That should get us 450 more.
That would.
They can do
Yeah, they can do
it. I'm looking at the events. I'm sad not to be here this weekend or next weekend. Both weekends have a lot of good events.
I see Jeff or John Mulbrant's from County Fort.
Where's that?
I only see one facility operator here tonight.
Yes, you're right.
In the room.
Is that doable for you to get 50 of those filled in just by people coming to the
Into
museum?
the museum.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, they don't have to be an event. They can just be people.
Right. The event, would be the exhibition.
I had a question about these events. Omar here. Do events need to be on this list to get a survey, or could they be any events around that are happening? The reason I ask is because I DJ at different venues, and I think some of the people that come by might be all right for the survey. I just didn't know if they need to be on this list, or I could just have them at my events.
They do have to be events that are hosted in the Salem area, like it can't be from outer areas. But if it's happening in Salem, it does not need to be on this list to qualify.
There's certain types of events though. They do have to be. They can't be sporting events, unfortunately. They have to be artistic, performances.
Cultural events.
Yeah, cultural, artistic events. Yeah.
And if you have the
Performances.
QR code, that might work.
And I believe, Omar, you do have the QR code too, or we can get you that.
Yeah, if you could send again, it could be at the top of my list, that'd be great. But yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Yeah, I'll keep a lookout then for the more events I'll be doing around town. I think it would be a good opportunity to get some of these.
Sounds good. Anything else on this topic? And for what's happening in everyone's neck of the woods. So, I guess we'll start over here with Jason. And we might even just tell us a little about yourself and your organization, too, since it's been a while, we may not recognize everyone.
I think I have a lot to say in a short amount of time, and I'll make it quick. I'm Jason Unruh with the Hoopla Association. We're going on year 24 of our 3-on-3 basketball tournament. I'm just sitting here thinking of a lot of things, and it'd probably be easy for me to get my tail feathers all up, hearing the sports comments. I don't take it that way. We're proud of our relationship with you guys. We're proud of what the event that we provide for the city, and we feel like we're by far the most culturally diverse event, period, sports, non-sports, and we're proud of that. We're proud that we have the second highest score of anybody. That means a lot to us. It's taken years of relationship building with this group. And I just want to express grace and our gratefulness to you guys. $10,000 is a lot of freaking money. And I try to treat this money like I hate Christmas bonuses because you start to depend on it. And your idea is, oh, I got it last year, I'm going to get it this year. I don't think of it that way. We're lucky to get this money. We're grateful to get this money. But I also want you guys to understand that it makes a difference and it goes a long way. And we do not take it lightly. I think the tendency, I don't want to speak against other organizations or, it's easy to just bank on it. And I just want you to know, we don't bank on it. We appreciate it every year. You guys, I can't even imagine reading everything that you have to go through and read. But from Hoopla, which I've been a part of since day one, since I'm 50 now. I was 26 when it started with no kids. And I just want to say how thankful we are. And it does make a difference. I probably sound like a salesman right now. I don't mean it that way. Come down to Hoopla. We have a group of volunteers that all they want to do is do good for a community. Nobody's looking for headlines in a paper. Nobody's getting paid. We just want to provide and bring people together. And we do bring people together and it makes a difference. So anyway, I'll stop talking, but thank you.
Do you have dates for the next one?
It's the week of July 25 through 30.
Okay.
Yeah.
The end of July.
The comment was not meant for you.
I know that. I know that.
So I don't want you to have your first or anything else.
No.
The comment was not meant for you because I actually have been to Hoopla and I understand Hoopla now. I don't play basketball. I'm short and a midget.
Well, that's the great thing about it.
Yeah.
It's basketball's a vehicle.
Yeah, but
to
it's
bring
not
a lot of
about
people
that.
together.
It's not
Yeah.
about that. And when I went there, I realized it's not about that. So, that's the cool thing about it. It's not about that.
Yeah.
So, the comment wasn't meant for you. It's just that there was
I
some
don't
other
feel a
things
barrier.
in here,
Yeah.
but they all just kind of happen to be that category.
Yeah.
So it wasn't meant for
I
you. Don't
know
take
that.
it that way.
I know that.
And I get you. I feel you. So it's good.
If I would have taken it that way, we'd have had a cage match.
You would have been outside.
Going.
Thank you, this word. I got a better leg. I can kick you really hard.
Threats of violence.
Top board breaks up in the garage.
Let's round this back up.
Anyway, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, and I get to follow that. All right. I'm Corinne Putnam, and I'm the one with all the computer problems, and I'm so grateful to be back in person. And I represent Helping Hands Resources.
Oh, yeah.
And we do Cooltopia. And so with the new one that we put on to help some of our people did over at the Grand Hotel, I think that's going to really raise the bar and generate more for Cooltopia because it's some of the same people that are our committee members who put that amazing thing on, so.
That was so well attended
It
too.
was
My goodness.
amazing.
People love their quilts.
They sure do.
Yeah, so, you know, and all.
This was the first one in Salem,
It's
right?
the first one in Salem for that type, and it's because a couple other things have been eliminated, so we're hoping that generates more money for us the first week in November, which is what it will be. And all that money for Quiltopia, of course, goes to buy things that we need, like backpacks, tents, sleeping bags for those who are in need in the community, and that's what Helping Hands Resources does. So we really appreciate your backing that event, because the money goes right back out to people on the street. So I'm glad it's here in person. Thank you.
I'm Christina Whiteside, and I am the new executive director at the Willamette Master Forest. So, been around this gathering before, representing the Oregon City in Salem, but that's been a number of years. So happy to be back. And even though I'm a fine arts musical performance gal, I am with him on the sports. And with Scott, when you bring in money, it doesn't matter what your event is. We have 2 concerts left in our season, both out at the Abbey at Mount Angel on the 7th and the 21st of May. Sacred music, including some spirituals, and then a few pieces that are European, but mostly American spirituals. Thank you for all that you do, and your efforts are well received for us as well.
I'm Kevin Stevens with the Oregon Senators, and I want to thank you so much for sponsoring us. This is our 2nd month now at the YMCA, and it's been amazing for me and for our organization to see the number of kids that we are getting coming up to our room going, what's going on up here? You know, they have no idea. And what we do is take kids who, their first comment is, well, I can't read music. And we'll look at the guys that are on the risers and say, how many of you right now don't read music? And over 50% of the members will raise their hands. We don't either. So we teach you how to do that. And so they feel really, there's a sense of belonging, because now all of a sudden, I don't have to read music. I like to sing. And so that's what we do. So we're really looking forward to this year and next year. Thank you so much.
I'm John O'Branson, I'm director of the Howard Ford Museum of Art. Been there for 25 years, so actually the founding director, so I've been there for a while. We're just kind of, moving forward on a lot of different projects. A couple of years ago, you may remember that Willamette and the Pacific Northwest College of Art merged, and we suddenly inherited a collection of 1,250 craft objects, the old Museum of Contemporary Craft collection. And so we've been spending the last year sort of cataloging, processing that. We recently received a gift from the Collins family to renovate the Mahoney building, which is about a block from the museum. So we'll be in the process over the next 6 to 9 months of turning that building to basically a collection space in order to house the Museum of Contemporary Craft collection. So that'll be an exciting. And then once the facility is renovated and we have proper storage shelves in there, the collection from Portland and down to Salem. And at that point, we'll begin mining the collection for exhibitions and so on and so forth. But it's a great resource. It's one of the great collections, one of the great contemporary craft collections in the country, and arguably the finest collection of American ceramics in the country. Certainly, Hugo Coast, Rudy Audio, all of these great people. So it's been kind of a blessing and a curse because it's been a challenge. We have a number of facility challenges which I'm addressing right now. We need to add compact storage, which is probably going to cost us about $125,000. We've also discovered recently, or not too recently, but all of the track lighting and the fixtures in the Howard Ford Museum of Art are now obsolete. So we're going to have to, over the next couple of years, go through and replace all of the track and fixtures in our building. So we have some capital projects kind of looming on the horizon, but the challenges that we'll address and deal with. Programmatically, we've got a great exhibition right now with Rita Romelard. She's a Portland mixed media artist, printmaker, and we have a 4-year retrospective of her work in the main gallery downstairs, the Nolan Henderson Video Gallery. Upstairs in the SETI Gallery at SETI Center, we have an exhibition called Hidden Histories. And a couple of years ago, we received a relatively large collection of ancient art objects. So objects from Egypt, ancient Near East, Greece, Rome, some Islamic material, from a man named Fred Newman. Fred is an interesting character. He was born in Germany in 1930. His father was a German military officer and was involved in, his father was involved in the assassination attempt of Adolf Hitler. And of course, was discovered and was assassinated. Fred and his mother and sister were spared, but that sort of obviously soured him on Germany. And by the time he graduated from college, he immigrated to the United States. For many, many years was a TWA executive and was stationed in Cairo and amassed a wonderful collection of ancient art, which 2 years ago he donated. And he's 92 years old and just delighted that this collection is, is someplace where it's being, used and studied and exhibited. So that's on upstairs through April 22nd. And Rita's exhibition closes on March 25th. There will be she'll be around the last day to do a gallery talk. So if any of you are around, she's a pretty entertaining speaker. The other thing that I want to mention is that last summer I organized an exhibition called David Roberts, Artist and Traveler. It's a project that I've been interested in for 44 years, and I finally was able to bring the exhibition to fruition. It was a great exhibition. There are David Roberts collectors out there who are just rabid fans of this artist. He was a 19th century Scottish artist and traveler who traveled to Spain and Morocco and the Middle East and created absolutely incredible hand-colored lithographs. And so we had, and I often mentioned this previously, but we literally had visitors coming from California, from Texas, from Chicago, from Tennessee, from Florida, from New York, specifically to see the David Roberts exhibition. Oh, by the way, to also see Oregon. I mean, go figure. Anyway, the exhibition closed. It was really well attended. I felt the exhibition has legs, and so I pitched it to an organization called International Art and Artists, which is a national traveling exhibition service based in Washington, D.C. And they're going to travel it for us nationally and internationally for 3 years, probably beginning in 2025 or 2026. So that's really exciting. It's going to get not only the name of the Hallie Ford Museum of Art out there, but also TOT, because it was one of our major funders. The other big thing that we have coming up, and we'll talk about it, that this fall will be our 25th anniversary. And so we'll be organizing an exhibition that will sort of tell the story of our collection. So all of the objects in the exhibition will be drawn from our permanent collection, but we'll sort of tell the story of the growth and development of the collection over the past 25 years. And sometime in either 2023 or 2024, I'm going to write history of the Hallie Ford Museum of Art that highlights the permanent collection. So that'll be covering next. Thank you.
You don't hardly do anything there, do you? But nothing tops, in my opinion, the Hoyt collection.
Well, that's another.
Nothing tops that.
Yeah, that just.
That was mind-blowing.
Yeah, that was this is arguably the finest private collection of contemporary Northwest Coast indigenous art in the country. 750 objects that George and Colleen have gifted to the Hallie Ford Museum of Art. So the first batch is probably about 400 prints, and the rest are masks and totems, bentwood boxes, and other types of wooden objects, but the first wave of objects is going to be coming in this year, second wave next year. So you can see one of our big challenges is, quite frankly, is storage. And so that's why we'll get all of the Museum of Contemporary Crafts collection into the Mahoney Annex. We'll probably move some other objects over there as well to free up space in the basement to take care of the white collection. And then the question becomes, where do you exhibit?
A longhouse that you built.
Yeah, that's the fourth floor that we added, the Halliford Museum of Art.
Yeah, that, I thought it was even better than the Smithsonian's
No,
collection.
it's-
I've seen the Smithsonian's collection, and I thought the Hoyt exhibit was better than the Smithsonian's.
Wow, thank you.
You know,
Thank
I
you.
mean, it was amazing, wonderful.
That's another exhibition that I think has legs, and has potential to travel at some point.
Yeah, it's an amazing collection, good job.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
Sorry.
Hi, good evening. Name is Paula Somoza,
Somoza.
and we are part of Casa de la Cultura Tlanese. Yeah, we're located here in Salem, Oregon. And we started this organization back when I was 15 years old. I was a North Salem High School student, and I have always been very passionate about my culture and promoting it. And so we started it, and here we are a couple years later. And in fact, Nick is the one that started when he was 3 years old with us dancing, and he went to Mexico City and went to pursue this. So he obtained his bachelor's degree as a dancer and professor in dancing and the specific folklorico in Mexico City. And now he is one of our dance instructors that is teaching our newest dancer. So it's nice to see the cycle from him being a student, and now he's part of the board, and now he's part of also the teacher. So we have about 3 of our dancers that are now part of our board, which is really nice that we get to see them coming back. And now we even get to see some of our students' kids being part of it. So it's growing. We put our main goal is to keep promoting our culture through cultural events in the community. Dia de Muertos is one of the biggest events that we do. Everything's family oriented, and if you haven't had the opportunity, we invite you to visit our event this year. And it's totally put up by all the dancers, their families, and the community. So it's 100 community-based event. And we're also so glad that we're also doing our first Wapango contest, which we talked about a little bit about what it was. And we're actually hosting 2 teachers that are coming down the end of this month. We're gonna be hosting 2 teachers from Mexico. They're gonna be teaching us different styles of the Wapango from the specific regions. And so if you're interested in coming and checking out the workshop, let us know, and we would love to have you guys come and check out the workshops. People are coming from Portland area, from Eugene area, from other areas for these workshops. So those are gonna be nice because it's gonna get them ready for the competition in August. So we're very grateful and excited that we also got awarded the money, because that's gonna help us also put this event for our community, which is very important for our youth and our families to have this cultural events here, which they have been asking for us. And our group is growing. We have about 85 students now, ages 4 to 63 years old. So it's really, really nice for us to keep pushing these events and hearing how it makes them feel very proud of who they are. So
What's the dates on the upcoming workshop?
22 of this month to the 2nd of April.
yeah. So we already have people lined up and signed up for the event. And dancers are excited and ready to learn. And we're also already working with because each region, it has its own diverse costume. So we're talking with the artisan, each artisan from different parts, and the people that actually make every costume. So we're trying to make it as authentic as we can, and also support the communities, the indigenous communities.
So these guys, on Saturday, I went to this, I cannot roll my R's. So I went to the Charleria, and this was great. And these guys showed up, and they had this dancing. Now I get into work because I was taking pictures, and I was sitting on the floor in the front because I'm crippled, and I'm trying to shoot up, and there's some guy throwing machetes up in the air. Okay, I'm sitting right in front of him. I'm taking pictures. This guy's throwing machetes, and I'm thinking, and she's sitting right by me. She saw this happen. And he dropped one, and I'm thinking, this could have been bad. And these guys, you should have seen the show that they put on. It was amazing. It was amazing. So you should talk more about these little drop-in shows that we do in Salem. It's not just these classes, because you guys do these kind of pop-up events. And all of a sudden, here you guys are at this pop-up event. And I think that's important that you mention this in your application and you talk about that, because it's not just your classes. Because you guys show up at the Chattanooga thing, I've seen you in other places. And I think that's important. You're pop-up around. I mean, you guys show up and it's like, oh my God, there they are.
Yeah.
And you guys, people kind of, they need to know more about you and talk more about that, project that. Because I didn't know you guys were going to be there. And I thought, wow, this is a bonus, okay. So that's one of the things that I thought.
Yeah, we weren't gonna be there. We got invited by the chapels because that traditional dancing is part of the chapel as well.
Exactly.
So they didn't have dancers, and so they invited us to perform there. So it was
That was just a super bonus
Yeah.
for you guys to show up. So that's that machete.
yeah. And each dance, it has its own meaning, history, and why they use machetes. It's because that was the tool of work for the men to do their daily jobs. So it was a way to hunt the crops and everything. And so that's why it's very symbolic in the traditional dances.
Awesome show.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I'm Tom Nadahan, Executive Director of the Free City. Really appreciative of passing score and being funded. It's really going to help us build a regional in-play festival. And the festival has been chosen, so our 6 shows have been selected. And it's on our website. And we're recruiting kids also for our summer, a new playwriting course. And I had Mayor open for the first time applicants. And so I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but if any of you want to give me feedback about how the application was or how it could be improved, I'd be all ears, actually. We're recruiting students for the course, and we've got kids from Mazama and Band and so on for their writing course. And we've done this course for now 4 years now, and I just discovered that 2 of the students who have taken the course before are now going to 11. Yeah, great.
It's a little recruiting tool there.
It's not meant to, well, I don't know if it's meant to be or not.
It's
be, but
all
there,
recruiting. Well, Lever will tell you.
No, we're pleased, but we want these kids to go to college, whether it's Willamette or any place else. And art education really has a huge impact on students in so many ways. Social, academic, going to college. And so, yeah, so we're gearing up for the festival. And this will be our 10th annual place on the festival.
Fun fact, somebody who went to what's the drama camp that they have in Willamette every summer, is now a writer for Bridgerton. So you can come from Salem and be a writer for Bridgerton.
We also have attendees online. So we'll start with Yvonne from Deepwood.
Hi, I'm so excited that we get to move forward with our events for each quarter this year. Thank you. We are looking forward to the next fiscal year and adding that in, get more people, different types of events at Deepwood. We have a lot going on. We had teas on Monday of this week, and we had 2 sold out teas. We actually talked about the history and the language of the hand fan. And I was really intrigued to see the diversity of the people who came to the teas. We had a child, a 10-year-old, who was just intrigued by the topic. And then we had people up to their 90s, and we had somebody from every decade in between. And it was great to see that. And then we also had about 25% of our attendees had driven an hour or more to be there. So that was also really nice to see. And, you know, while they're there, I'm always giving them the cultural materials about Salem, telling them other places to go and see and reasons to come back. So that was a big success. And we have another tea coming up in April and again in May. So it's great to be back rolling with those things. And then we have our erythronium celebration, our native flower that blooms hopefully the weekend of our event, March 17th and 18th. The weather has slowed things down a little bit, but we're still hopeful. We're going to have blooms. If they aren't blooming then, they'll be blooming later in March. It's just a beautiful thing to see in our nature trails. Regardless of whether or not they're blooming, we'll have a lot going on March 17th and 18th from 9 to 3 each day. We have formal garden tours both days at 11 and 1. We have nature trail guided tours to show people different native species and familiarize them with that getaway within the city of Salem. We have that each day at 10 and noon. And something different we've done this year is we have asked horticulturalists and master gardeners to be there to answer people's questions about native species as well as other types of plants. And I'm happy to say we've gotten volunteers to help us out with every hour that we're open to the sale. So people will not have me looking up plant information on my phone, but we'll actually have an expert to get information from. So that's a new educational aspect we added this year. I hope to see many of you there. It's a great way to get plants that are natives as well as other plants, and then also beautiful pottery and other horticultural related items, decor for your yard, etc. And then we are getting back to doing our Easter egg hunt this year. It's going to be on April the 8th. And this is a historic event to Deepwood. The last owner of Deepwood used to hold egg hunts for friends and family in the gardens at Deepwood. And so excited to get those back finally again. And this is also our month that we have our reciprocal agreement with many Portland area attractions. So our tours are really busy this month, and it brings a lot of people from outside of the city of Salem to Deepwood and then doing other things while they're in the market. So big times at Deepwood, lots going on, having a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Thanks for your support.
Next up, I have Leslie Paulson.
Okay, Plahayim Slush Elahi. We are acknowledging the Kalapuya land at Englewood Park that we've been able to host a one-day event, and we thank you.
Keeps on muting for some reason. Leslie, can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So where was I from?
You were just talking about the
Kalapuya land.
The Kalapuya land. So we're doing an land acknowledgement for the Kalapuya who gave up their lives and their livelihood so that we can live here. And so we are fortunate to have that beautiful park remaining here with the lands that used to be. We are going to have Thai Curtis and Aztec dancers. We now have 25 artists, so we're going to plan up to 20 to a total of 50. So if you're interested, apply. We're doing also activities with nonprofits. We're going to have Papa's dancers, and Lasse is doing a family drumming project. So we're trying to mix it up because Salem is very mixed up. So we're trying to have an event where people from all parts of the community for this. Okay. So thank you.
Thank you. Next up, I have Genoa Ingram from Oregon State Capitol. Is Genoa still with us? Okay, we'll move on to Doug Dakar from Willamette Arts Center. I can't hear anything, Doug. We're not hearing anything. So we'll move on then.
Speak as a community member. Yes, it's nice to be a community member.
Yes, we'll turn it over to the board.
If anyone wants a print edition of Press Play, I've got a stack of them here.
Thank you.
I love these. Take a look. There you go.
And then the Oregon Artist Series Foundation, which programs the art at the convention center, has a reception on March 20th that everyone is invited to from 5 to 7:30 for the exhibit that is currently up in their level 2 gallery on the second floor.
The food is always great at those events. I just want to say. March 20th.
Oh, okay. Well, you can come for the food.
The
And
good
see
too.
the arts from the arts. And as it is a nonprofit, it's always nice to make donations. And then the event happening at the Elsinore on Saturday, which is, it's Art Association and World Beat is the other community partner there. So yeah, it starts at 7:10. There's music and entertainment and lots happening, and it's a fundraiser for them. So I know they will appreciate it. And I think that's it.
Yay.
All right.
Thanks.
Well, I think that just about does it. There's no other business, orders of business or anything else. We'll go ahead and go to adjournment. Thank you all for coming. Go ahead and mingle and share stories.
So we're planning.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate you taking the lead over here for me. All right, have a good night, bro.
We'll see you next time.
All right, see you next time. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Good night.
For sure, but our
Living proof.
Yeah, it's fine.